All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? What is day is it? It is Monday, April 20th. Happy 420, although I no longer celebrate. I am a sober boy. But it is Monday, April 20th, and there has been so much going on in the volleyball world, so this is the Volleyball Journal. I think we're going to bring it back. I think we're going to bring it back on a weekly basis, do some videos throughout the week, and then also just do a little bit of a recap of everything that's happened in the volleyball world over the course of the past week on Monday evenings. But so much going on in the volleyball world this weekend. We've got championships being handed out in Turkey and the United States. We've got series prolonging in Italy on the women's side. We've got other series ending in Italy on the men's side. So much going on in Poland and in Russia and in Germany and in France. Hell, there's even stuff going on in Japan that I'm not even going to touch on today just because there's too much to talk about. So first and foremost, we have to start things off in Turkey, where Vakifbank are now back-to-back champions of the Sultanlar Ligi. That's right, they took down Fenerbahce in an epic 4-set match on the weekend. Fenerbahce did extend the series with a 5-setter on Wednesday. Or was it Thursday? Honestly, I can't really remember. It was a big week for volleyball. Regardless, Fenerbahce in Game 4 extended the series with a 5-set win, and then Vakifbank took care of business in Game 4 on their home court for their second straight title, their fourth in 6 years. They have been absolutely rolling as of late. You know what? They are now also second overall and just one title behind Exacerbasi for the all-time tie for titles in the Sultanlar Ligi. That's right. They have 15 now. Exacerbasi has 16. And, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future, especially with that Exacerbasi team has not won one since 2012. It has been all Vakifbank and Fenerbahce since then, mostly Vakifbank. And, I mean, they crushed it in this match. They absolutely crushed it in this match. Markova was an absolute beast. She was the MVP, and I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say at all that she may be the best player in the world right now, which is odd considering she's a left side, and the game has been just completely dominated by right side players on the women's side. And I want to see if I can pause this some here. There we go. It was just rolling, and it was just too much. But man, Markova was crazy. She led the match with 26 points for Vakifbank in this one. No, those are their Fenerbahce's. Markova, 26 points. She was 23 for 43, had 3 blocks in this one. Also passed 59 and 44. 59% positive, 44% perfect on 27 targets. She was the best Vakifbank passer and getting the most targets while receiving 43 sets at the same time. She was an absolute workhorse. And the stuff that she is able to do, you know, in blocking as well, too, like 3 blocks, huge, 4 touches. I can't get some of the dig stats. I've seen some dig stats and some different stat sheets floating around on Twitter and stuff, but I don't know how to access them. So if someone could figure that out for me, I would love you. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, Markova is the best player in the world right now. She had 111 points in this series. She was, I mean, hands down the best player. She had 111 points in the series, averaging 5.55 points per set, a little behind Vargas. Vargas had 113 points in the series, but she also was the best attacker in this series. She had 96 kills, which wasn't the best, but she was hitting at a 55.49% with a 44.46 efficiency. That was the best of all the players in this series. She had 13 blocks, which was third most in this series, just behind Boskovic and Eda Erdem. And also, she had 2 aces, but then also, as I said, she passed 46.68% positive with 30% perfect on 106 targets in this series. We'll see if the receiver numbers are here. I mean, Anna Cristina just slightly above her, and she barely even played. Gizem Orge, I mean, is libero at 62%, but 47% positive for Markova is just phenomenal. She dominated this series. She was so damn good. And I mean, the reality is that the stars in this series altogether just showed up. It was so entertaining because the stars showed up. Melissa Vargas was huge. I mean, she was an absolute monster in game number 4. Those are the Vakifbank numbers. Yeah. No. Yeah. Or did I not? Did I accidentally delete my Fenerbahce numbers from? No, game number 4. Vargas was a monster with 28 points. She went 25 for 50. Overall, she was just absolutely incredible. I mean, Fedoretseva only got 16, and they were able to win that game in 5 sets. And it was the same thing in game number. In game number 5 too. Vargas had 25. Fedoretseva had 13. And to me, that was the big difference in this series, is that on one hand, you had Vakifbank, where, I mean, when they had Markova and Boskovic going off, like Boskovic had 21 as well in game number 5. Boskovic had 21. Markova had 26. That's really hard to defend against. That is really hard to defend against. And Vakifbank also plays a style where they really limited their errors throughout this entire series. And I mean, when they were able to do that, they were really good. And that was the case. I mean, their blocking in this match was phenomenal. They had 14 blocks compared to Fenerbahce's 7. Their serving was a big difference as well, too. Only 5 service errors, whereas Fenerbahce had quite a number more. Fenerbahce had 13, right? It was 4 aces, 5 errors for Vakifbank, 3 aces, 13 errors for Fenerbahce. That was huge. That was absolutely massive. And, they really limited their attacking errors as well, too. Vakifbank had a 35% efficiency as a team. Fenerbahce had a 25% efficiency as a team. But as I said, blocking as well, too. In the entire series, Vakifbank outblocked Fenerbahce 52-36. So it was just dominant at the net for Vakifbank, and they had both of their 2 stars step up. But also, I really think you have to give a big shout out to Daria Tebigioglu. Did I say that properly? Tebigioglu. She was huge in this match. 14 points. She had 14 points in match number 5, including some big clutch plays. I mean, Vakifbank really trailed in that second set. They lost the first. They trailed in the second. And it looked like it was going to go Fenerbahce's way. There was quite a bit of that second set where I was like, man, I think Fenerbahce is going to take it. But Daria made some huge plays. She had 14 points in the match, 24 in the series. So she scored over 50% of her points in game number 5. And ultimately, I thought that she was huge for her team. Yes, you're going to expect Markova to show up. She was MVP, no doubt. Yes, you're going to expect Boskovic to show up. And I mean, if you haven't seen already, I've already posted a video about how it is her first Sultanlar Ligi championship. It is her 12th season in the league, and it is her first championship, which is astonishing for the level of player that she is. She's going to go down in the history of women's volleyball as being one of the best all time. She's only 29 years old. She's won 2 world championships, 2 MVPs, and this is her first Sultanlar Ligi championship of all time, which is crazy. But I really thought, as I said, that Daria played a huge match for this Vakifbank team, and I'm gonna go out and say it, that they do not win this match if it's not for Daria Tebigioglu. So I really think that she needs to get some respect from everyone in this match overall. And you know what? I really think that this was one of the more entertaining matches of all of the, not only matches, but I think this is one of the more entertaining series in all of volleyball. Both, the Turkish league is just so passionate. There's so much passion when you go out there, from the players, from the fans, from the coaches. I mean, Guidetti is just absolutely going off all the time. He's wearing his gold tie, and I mean, it's all the way, down halfway down his sternum, because he's just going off the entire time. And they play a really aggressively offensive style of volleyball. Sometimes I think Italy on the women's side is a little too reserved, so they're really clean with the way they play. But it's just really, aggressively offensive. It's so passionate, and I love it. I mean, Guidetti is hands down one of the GOATs. You have to say that, especially with what he's done with his team over the years. I mean, I know Markova, you've got the majority of your team back, but bringing in Boskovic was a huge move and just a massive play altogether. Congratulations to Vakifbank. they fully deserved it. And I mean, their season's not over, right? They have a date with Imoco Conegliano on May 2nd. The entire volleyball world has to watch that because that is the showdown of all showdowns. I'm definitely going to do a preview on it. 7 of the past 8 Champions Leagues have been won by those two teams. And you know what? I think this Vakifbank team has a lot to play for, and this Conegliano team doesn't look nearly as undefeatable as they have in years past. So that is going to be very, very interesting. But speaking on Conegliano, they are now 3-1 in their series with Milano. They won match number 2 on Wednesday, just crushed it, 3-0 on Milano's home court, 25-21, 25-19, 25-18, and it was a bit of a shithousing. I'm not going to lie. Isabelle Haak went out there and does what Isabelle Haak does. She had 28 points in that match. That is the wrong stat sheet. I apologize. Regardless, she had 22 points in that match. She was incredible. And Conegliano just does what they do. They limited their errors, only had 9 errors altogether as a team in that match, 5 from the baseline, 4 attacking. They had 8 blocks as well, hit 51% as a team, and they just dominated. It was classic Conegliano volleyball. And on the other side of the net, man, in game 2, Milano looked dejected. It looked like they did not get game number 1 out of their minds, where they had Imoco on the ropes at home and was not able to get the job done. And I mean, they were just bad. They were bad in the game. They had 38% as a team, 24.5% efficiency. And I mean, Agonu was a big issue there. She was 24.5% efficiency, 24.4% efficiency with just 15 points. And she was the only one really scoring. Anna Denesi had 7. Lanier had 8. Rebecca Piva had 8 with, a terrible efficiency as well, below 25%. And I really thought that heading back for game number 3, this series was going to be a sweep. I really did. I really did. I absolutely really did. Now, we've got some people in the chat saying Conegliano's home record is insane. It's not that quite insane. I mean, they lost home matches to Scandici in the 2024 playoffs. They lost home matches to Milano in the 2023 playoffs. The stats that they're throwing out there on Volleyball World on VBTV were not accurate. I'm sorry. Because I thought I was going to talk about this. That was going to be one of my big stories today in this show, and I went and did that research, and it's not actually the case. It's not actually the case. So surprise, surprise. Volleyball at VBTV, people not doing the research. Definitely wasn't Key Michael, though. It was not her that said that. I know Key would have done her research, or she wouldn't have said it altogether. But regardless, match number 2 was a different story. And I mean, hey, holy, that was an exciting one. Milano storms back on Conegliano's home court. And you know what? It was like, I thought that after set number 2, I was just like, I don't know if this is gonna be a good thing. I don't know if this is going to continue, because I mean, Milano went out there and won the first set, 25-28. I think Conegliano lost, made 8 service errors in set number 1, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, and then they just kind of lost the handle on set number 2, and the way that Conegliano bounced back. I even said it in the Discord, because I was watching it and chatting with people in the Discord. If you haven't joined it yet, join the Volleyball Source Discord. It's the best online volleyball community in the world. And, I really thought that it was going to be all Imoco Conegliano at that point, but a few things happened. Conegliano was really bad throughout the match. They were so uncharacteristically bad. They had 17 serving errors in this match. They had 19 combined in matches 1 and 2. And I mean, match 1 went to 5. This one only went to 4. So they had 19 combined in matches 1 and 2. They had 17 in match number 3. And I mean, Haak was good. Isabelle Haak was good. She had 27 points, and she has to be one of the most consistent players in the game. I don't remember when she's having bad games out there. I really do not. But the big issue was on the outside with Zhu and Gabi. Combined, they were terrible. They were 18 for 55 combined. 18 for 55 combined with just a terrible efficiency between the two of them. Zhu was definitely the biggest liability on the court for Conegliano, which is funny. I'm pretty sure I said that at one point on the Discord. Yeah, I think I talked about that last week as well. But she ended up getting subbed off, and we saw Fatoumata Sylla come in. In this game. And I mean, it was so bad for Zhu Ting that her biggest supporters and defenders in the Discord were actually calling for her to come off. But as bad as Conegliano was, Milano was also very good. Paola Egonu went absolutely Super Saiyan. She went absolutely Super Saiyan and was unreal. 34 points in 4 sets. Crazy. Going 32 for 63 in the match, with a 44.4% efficiency, also had 2 blocks. She led her team, or had the second most serves on the team with 18. And she was just incredible. Rebecca Piva was a lot better. Rebecca Piva was stone cold in serve receive, going 70% positive and 56% perfect. She was so good. And another big shout out to Hannah Kurtadic, who has to be in the conversation right now as the best middle in the world. I've talked about it time and time again. I know I sound like a broken record. She's the best women's blocker in the world, hands down. And the only other blocker that I know who's better than her in terms of the speed of where she is when she gets down to where she's up into pressing is just Augustine Lozère. That is the only other person that I've seen who has been as good as her in the block. And she's starting to figure out her attacking. She was 7 for 10 with 5 blocks and 12 points in this match. But Paola Egonu was just incredible in this one. And this is why she is one of the GOATs. Because when everything is on the line, she gets the job done. You know, it's really... On one side, you've got Egonu, who shows up in the big moments. On the other side, you've got Hawk, who's done it consistently now for years and years and years with 2 different clubs and has really just shown that she is one of the best. And, I mean, we have the potential of seeing this series go to the distance. I really think we do, because we have game number 5 also. Just this graphic, really well done. Egonu looking like a queen, 34 points, 2 blocks. Beautiful. But we do have the potential of seeing this series go the distance. Game 3 will be going down on Wednesday, April 22nd. It'll be going on down at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. if you're in Italy. Figure out the times depending on where we are. And you know what? There's a lot riding on this game, obviously. Imoco still has the chance to win the championship, and Imoco has not lost 2 games in a row since they lost back-to-back games on May 9th and 11th versus Milano back in 2023, back in the Scudetto Finals back in 2023. So really, Milano needs to show up. That girl right there, Paola Egonu, needs to be the best player in the world once again. Kurtadic needs to be so good at the net. Piva and Lanier need to be on their game as well. They don't need to be putting up huge numbers, but they need to be passing over and over and over again. And I'm sorry, Aristotle, but you can't call Egonu a one-game merchant. How many one-game merchants has she done? How many Champions Leagues has she won? She's an Olympic champion. She's a world champion. She's a European champion. She has done it all. Okay, you cannot call her a one-game merchant. That is such an insult to one of the best players in the game. Okay, I saw your comment come up, and I could not let that pass by. She is not a one-game merchant. Do not give her that moniker. She is way too good to be that. She's one of the best of all time. Okay, but yeah, as I said, we could be going to a game 5. If Milano can defend their home court, and once again, it's been like basically 3 years since Conegliano has lost 2 matches in a row. But if Milano can defend their home court, once again, Milano has 2 wins against Imoco this year in the Supercoppa and in the regular season. If they can defend 3, actually, playoffs as well. If they can defend home court, it will be very, very interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. But yeah, all that to say, I think this has been awesome. I thought this was going to be done. I'd love to see Milano push back a little bit against Imoco in this match. Okay, now moving on to the men's side of things. I honestly think that sometimes you guys forget that I've done this for a long time and that I kind of know what I'm talking about. Because just like I called from the beginning of the season, just like I've been calling, for the end of the regular season, just like I called in my lead up to this, Lube goes out, demolishes Verona in game number 4, clinches the series in 4 matches, and has now qualified for yet another Scudetto final. They have qualified for yet another Scudetto final, and they have just been so damn good. And in this match, they were particularly dominant. 25-23, 25-19, 25-20. And realistically, they dominated this match in every single aspect. In every single aspect, there's no doubt about it. And it all started from the baseline. They had 6 aces for just 14 errors, which is way different than what Verona had. Verona had 7 aces, but on 17 errors. So a little bit of difference there, but then Verona passed 32% positive and 12% perfect. And I honestly think that these numbers are high. I think those numbers are way too high for what it actually was. Truly, honestly, I think these numbers were way too high for what it actually was because, man, Micah ran an absolute marathon in this match. He should have just set up on the baseline. He honestly just should have set up on the baseline, and that would have been a much better use of his time than trying to run to 2.5 and back every single time. Because it was just a dominant performance from Lube Civitanova up and down their lineup. And I mean, if you look at some of these numbers too, The Rock on 13 targets, 15% positive. He was aced 5 times. Keita, as I said, after game number 1, as I said in the series preview, you serve Keita, you win. I mean, they didn't really go after him that much. He was served 11 times, but still only 18% positive in this match. And I mean, it also came down to the net play too. 11 blocks for Lube versus just 6 for Verona. Big difference there. Of course. Oh, and offensively as well too. Offensively, they were massive in this game. Was Lube? They had 56% as a team with a 41.2% efficiency. And of course, all these people out there thinking like, oh, Eric Lepke's so overrated. Eric Lepke shouldn't be starting this team. They need a good opposite. Match high 15 points. MVP. 12 for 15. 12 for 15 with a 73.3% efficiency. 3 aces on top of that. I don't know if we can call 15 points on 15 attempts a landy line. Actually, no, let's call it a landy line. He had a landy line playing, as an outside opposite. So he was absolutely huge. It just took off any of the pressure on Nikolov, on Botolo, and Lube just dominated this game in every single aspect. And I mean, as I said, Verona couldn't pass. And I mean, Lube did have similar passing numbers to Verona. However, it didn't seem nearly as bad, but Darlin was nowhere to be found in this game. Darlin was brutal. He was 3 for 7 with 4 errors. He had a negative efficiency in this match. Also, you had like Mozic. Mozic really struggled as well. His passing was terrible. He did get 2 aces, but he made 3 errors, which it is what it is. But 2 for 5 in offense. They really just relied on Keita because that's all that was really happening out there. They really struggled as a team. I almost wondered if Mozic was still injured. There was a moment in between set 2 and 3 when Soli went straight to Mosic and, kind of like hugged him and they had a little chat on the bench before they went over. And I honestly wondered if it was just like, hey, look, I have to take you out because it's just not good enough right now. I did think that Francesco Sani brought a lot of juice coming in off the bench, and we're gonna like talking about consistency in Isabel Huck. Francesco Sani has been a guy who's been a seventh man all year, constantly coming in off the bench and constantly showing up for this team. I mean, he was their best passer, 45% positive. He was 5 for 13, which, while wasn't great, was better than some of the other guys, some of the big stars on this team as well. But this is exactly what I thought was going to happen with Verona. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen with Verona. I called this back in October? I called it back in October. They lacked the ball control to compete with some of the elite teams. Overall, they really showed how green they were, with Mosic and Darlin really fading as this series went on and as they were needed more and more and more. We saw how emotional that they got in game number 3 when the calls weren't going their way. Once again, I don't think they were bad calls. Everyone knows how critical I am of referees, and I don't think there was a terribly refereed game at all. I just think that Verona was really getting up on themselves. And as I said, coming into this series, sometimes you've got to act like you've been there before. And Verona hadn't been there before, and you could tell they wanted it so bad. They just wanted it so bad, and they were just holding on to the stick a little too tight, as we say in hockey. You're just holding on to the stick a little too tight. You get that pass, and you whiff it. And this was a complete whiff for Verona in this series altogether. Right? This is a complete whiff for Verona in the series. Honestly, I thought Keita was good. We kind of saw down the stretch that he's not a great serve receiver. That is just the case of the matter. He is not a great serve receiver. But you know what? With Darlin going to Turkey next year, I know they're bringing in Paul Bucheger, but maybe Francesco Sani has deserved to put a starting place in the roster. Maybe you can go out and get someone who can pass the ball and, play a real P2 position to be able to open some things up from Mosic and Keita. I'm really interested to see what they do, because I really think that this team has made really good strides. But at the same time, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen to Verona. And as I said as well, Lube was just a terrible matchup for them. Had they played Perugia in the semifinals, it may have been a different series altogether. Who knows? We can't play that what-if game. Same thing if they had played Trentino, right? Even if you're talking about Trentino although Trentino with a Micheletto and a Lavia, that's a team that knows how to get the job done when it matters the most, right? Defending Scudetto champs, they won the Champions League the year before. This is a team that knows how to get it done. But on the other side of the court, for this Lube team, as I said, the matchup was very much in their favor. They could pick on Mosic and Keita from the baseline, and that's what they did in matches 3 through 4. Outstanding. Overall, I think they had a better team and a better team to compete in these big moments. And if you want to go back to my preseason preview, once again, that I did in October, I predicted Lube having a struggle throughout this season. I predicted Lube struggling at certain points, because this is a team that went all the way to the end of the playoffs last year, right? They played CEV Cup. They went to the end of the playoffs, played in the finals. Then this majority of this lineup goes and plays VNL all summer long. And the majority of the lineup goes all the way to the finals at the World Championships too, right? How many of these guys went to the World Championship finals? Botolo, Balasso, obviously Nikolov, Gargiulo. All of these guys that are some of their main components, the guys who struggled down the stretch a little bit, they've been playing a lot of volleyball for a long time. But if you have that lull, you need to come back up. And that's exactly what this Lube team has done now at this point of the season. Right? That's exactly what this Lube team has done at this point of the season. And, once again, I was right. Maybe you guys should start listening to me a little bit more. But looking forward for this match, Scudetto Finals are going to start next Thursday, which is insane to me. You're going to have an entire week and a half off until they're going to start the next playoff finals. And I think that's a really big mistake on the part of the Lega Volley. Sure, you're going to give your teams a little bit of rest. I think they should have given them the week. Start it next Sunday, not instead of next Thursday. And I think one of the biggest issues that I have with this is because if this series goes 5, Perugia is going to have to play Game 5 of the Scudetto playoffs on Tuesday, May 12th. And then on the Friday of that week, Friday, May 16th, they're going to have to play in the semifinals of the Champions League against Warszawa. Warszawa, on the other hand, I know they're in the bronze medal series, but they're still out there competing. If they go 5 games with their Soviet in their bronze medal series, they're going to be done on May the 9th. So, yes, there's a little bit of travel involved. Let's be honest. This isn't North America. It's Europe. Italy and Poland are basically beside each other. It's like a quick hop and a skip away, right? I know that Perugia is going to be playing stone's throw from the finals from themselves. I think the finals are in Torino. I honestly can't remember. It doesn't really matter at the moment, right? But it's really like, I think is a lack of oversight from the Lega Volley of putting their team's best foot forward. You could do the exact same thing as the PluLiga, right? Because not only that, they're going to combine the same amount of games into a number of less days. It's too much math for me to actually do, but they're going to have to play a lot more matches potentially in less amount of days. And who knows how that's going to affect Perugia down the line. Although, let's be honest, Warszawa, not looking the best right now. Perugia, honestly lucky that Lublin was as bad as they were in the Champions League, because they are looking way different. And that is what I'm going to talk about now. And I'll be fully honest with you guys. When I say that I have been a little disinterested in the PluLiga this year. And not this year, sorry, in these playoffs, as we've come down to the playoffs. And I honestly don't know why. The PluLiga, traditionally for me, is a very exciting league. And we saw it. I mean, at one point, there was like 8 points separating first to ninth in this league earlier this season. There was so much chaos going on. But as things progressed, as things got going, everything just kind of settled into place. And sure, we did have a little bit of interest with, the Zawiercie Zaksa series going to 3. The Warszawa JW series going to 3 as well. But the semis were kind of a snooze fest. 3-0, 3-0 for Zawiercie. They just dominated for Zawiercie. And then Lublin looked like a much different team in the semifinals of the PluLiga compared to they did in the semifinals of the Champions League against the exact same Warszawa team, right? Leon looked way different. They look like they can actually play the ball. I have no idea why they weren't playing Jackson Young in the semifinals of the in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I apologize. All right, because Young has been outstanding, looking fresh with that platinum blonde hair. But yeah, I have no idea why Lublin looks way different. Way different. And I mean, we're going to start with that Lublin series and mostly game number 2. Because game number 2, I mean, Leon was in scary mode. He was in absolute scary mode. He had 18 points. He was 10 for 21, 2 blocks, and 5 aces. 5 aces for the GOAT. 6 aces. 6 aces for the GOAT, 5 errors. I'm just not reading my notes properly or the screen in front of me. 6 aces, 5 errors on 24 attempts. And that was just the story of this game for Lublin and this entire series. They bullied Warszawa from the baseline. Bullied them completely. And I mean, the numbers back it up too. In this match, 6 aces to 14 errors for Lublin, 2 aces for 22 errors for Warszawa. Look at that. That is a terrible comparison for Warszawa, and it happens the same thing. It's almost worse in the block as well. 13 blocks and 13 block shots just for Lublin in this match. 9 blocks, and only 4 block touches for Warszawa. And I mean, the medals on this Warszawa team. Kokonowski, he touched the ball twice in blocking. Karol Klos, just once. Yuri Semeniuk, no times. None in the first set. Right? This is one of the best blocking trios in the world. And on the other side, you have, I mean, Grozanov was incredible at the net. 5 blocks in this one, 5 touches. McCarthy, 3 blocks, 3 touches. He also went 7 for 5 in attacking. And it was just a much different series altogether. And it's just a dominant performance by Lublin, and they head back to their second straight PluLiga Finals. But man, you can't help but wonder how different it would be if they had been able to play like this in the Champions League quarterfinals. Because imagine the fanfare around Leon coming back to Italy to take on Perugia in the semifinals of the Champions League. Oh my goodness. That would have been awesome. That would have been so much fun. Not to mention, Perugia doesn't do well against good serving teams. They're not a great passing team. They do keep their errors down quite a bit. A little bit like a Zawiercie, or, you know, but still, like, that would have been a very intriguing, especially in a one game match, or in a 1 game series. Woo! And you know, Leon would have been up for it too. And yeah, I thought it would have been outstanding. But you look through these numbers: 18 for Leon, 12 for Malinovsky, 10 for Grozanov, 10 for Young. Outstanding up and down the lineup. 8 for McCarthy. Just such an even offense too. Look at how Komenda spread this butter. 21 for Leon, 20 for Malinovsky, 15 for Young, 11 for Grozanov, 7 for McCarthy. Ooh, crust to crust, baby, crust to crust. And on the other side, just strugglers for Warszawa. Gomulka, who, I mean, has to be one of the best stories in the season for this Warszawa team. Warszawa gets rid of Bovanch. They go out. They get themselves, they make Linus Weber their number 1 starter. He ends up not being as great down the stretch. And man, Bartosz Gomulka comes up with a massive play, going 12 for 18 for 17 points. But other than that, they struggled offensively. The right side of the court, great, because even Weber came in and was 6 for 8. But man, Bednor's 9 for 19 with a 15% efficiency. Kevin Tilley, 8 for 19 with a 15% efficiency. As I said earlier, their serving and blocking were just atrocious in this match. Just atrocious. And yeah, just terrible. Just terrible all around. And really sucks for Warszawa, because I mean, after the way they played in the the quarterfinals of the Champions League, I thought this was going to be different. Thought it was going to be way different, and it wasn't. It was not. They proved me wrong. And oh yeah, you guys are talking about the CEV Cup. I forgot to. We'll tie on some CEV Cup at the end of it. I'll pull some stuff up, because I did watch that match, and yeah, it was a tough go for Lundberg. Tough go for Lundberg, as Piacenza came from behind twice in that match. But here we're talking about the PluLiga, and I mean, Zawiercie rolled over, honestly, Zawiercie, kind of they were in bed and they just rolled over. They didn't really realize that, Resovia was like a cockroach beside them, and they just rolled over and crushed them. 25-16, 25-17, 25-23 for Vata Zawiercie. And they just played their match. They only had 12 errors over the course of this match. 8 from the baseline, 4 attacking. They had 7 aces on just 8 errors in match number 2. They hit 42% of it as a team, and they dominated. Look at some of these efficiency numbers from their guys. Biniak, 8 for 9. 8 for 9, hitting 88%. That's almost Eric Lepke numbers over there for Matus Biniak. Bart Bovanch, same thing, 10 for 14. Aaron Russell, 10 for 18 with no errors. He hit, interesting how you see kill percentage, he hit a 56, but efficiency hit a 55. I mean, the only guy who was kind of stinking up the joint was Bartosz Kwolek, but that kind of happens. He just goes up and down a little bit, but he's the only guy who was bad out there for Zawiercie. And I mean, this is a team who are absolutely rolling, right? 12 for Bovanj, 12 for Russell, 10 for Biniak, 7 for Glader, 5 for Kulik. And I honestly think right now, Miguel Tavares ran circles around Martinianos. Circles around him. He outset the shit out of this series, and it wasn't even close. And I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing from Varsovia as well, too. They didn't pass the ball terribly, 41% positive, so they're mostly in system. And yet Schalpuk, 9 for 12 isn't that bad. 9 for 12 is not that bad at all. But Luetzi, 4 for 13, not fantastic. Chebul coming off the bench, he goes 9 for 18. Meh. Bucharin was the best one out there, 11 for 22, but only with a 31% efficiency. And you know what? When you miss 16 serves and only get 1 ace against a team who is getting 7 aces and has half the amount of missed serves, that is going to be a really tough situation. And Resovia, the curse continues. The curse continues. I was really stoked on this roster early on in the season, and they just didn't do enough for me, I think, down the stretch. Bucharin with 13, Chebul with 10, Schalpuk with 9, Demyanenko with 4, Luetzi with 5 got subbed off, Parebo only with 2, and Rusovia's run for the finals is done, but they will take on Warszawa in the bronze medal match, with the winner going to the Champions League as always. So, yeah, that is your wrap up. I will do a better job at watching some PluLiga this in the finals. Finals are starting 2:45 p.m. Poland time. That's 8:45 a.m. for me on Saturday. So you know what? I'll probably tune in for that one. I'll probably skip my Pilates class, and I will probably do a nice little live stream, a nice little morning live stream with a cup of coffee and some bacon. Make it a live stream mukbang. Some of you hate that, but hey, a guy's got to do what a guy's got to do. Okay, now moving on. A little League One action, and we have back-to-back championship number 2 for League One Austin. Back-to-back MVPs for Maddie Skinner, as Austin and Salt Lake City went toe-to-toe in the championship series. And I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about this series as well. Obviously, it's played at a prime time, so I got to watch it a little bit more, sat down with some dinner, watched the games, and well, first we're gonna talk about the volleyball. First we have to talk about the volleyball, because match 1, I mean, they played 11 sets in 2 matches, so that's pretty exciting in the first place. Salt Lake takes match number 1 in 5, 16-14. In that 5th set, they were down 12-10, and they were still able to pull it back and get that dub in the finals, or in game 1 of the finals, and all on the back of Alexa Gray. She had 28 points. This match was 24 for 58 with 3 blocks and an ace, the 1 ace for this Salt Lake team. And I mean, Salt Lake was just really good in attacking. Really good attacking. They only had 6 errors over the course of 5 sets, which was huge, and really just limited their errors overall. 1 ace to 13 errors, not fantastic, especially when the other team is going 7 aces for 11 errors. But it was a really good side-out offense for Salt Lake. And I thought Jordan Poulter really showed why she's the cream of the crop. As I said, Gray with 28, Heidi Casanova, the Cuban, with 18, Serena Gray in the middle, no relation to Alexa, with 12, Claire Hoffman on the outside with 12 as well, too. And I thought they did a really good job in match number 1 against Austin. Salt Lake's wasn't as efficient in first ball side out. Basically a 2-to-1 ratio. I love the fact that, they give us these stats down here. Austin was a little better. However, Austin was much less efficient offensively, made 16 errors in this match, and what kept them alive was their just absolute dominant serve and block game. 7 aces, 18 blocks, led by Asia O'Neill and Logan Eggleston as well too, with 5 apiece. 3 as well for Maddie Skinner. She led her team with 21 points. Eggleston had 18. Molly McCage had 13. Asia O'Neill had 17. Maddie Banks had 12. And really just this set up everything for Austin down the stretch. And because in match number two was a very different story. Gone was the efficient as hell Salt Lake team. They made 21 attacking errors in this match. And honestly, it just seemed like anyone but Alexa was struggling to score. She had 25 in this match. Serena Gray had 16, but 4 of those were blocks. They had no aces on the night. They had 21 attacking errors and got blocked 13 times, which is just yikes. I cannot tell you the last time I saw a team, like an elite team, have 21 attacking errors in the women's game. On the men's game, that's a little bit more common, right? But definitely not in the women's game. And their side out just wasn't quite there for Salt Lake. And I mean, for Austin, Salt Lake had them on the ropes too. They won sets 2 and 3. They went up 2-1. They were 1 set away from winning this championship. Now, if this was the Champions League, it would have been over, right? It would have been over after 3 sets because all you would have needed to do was win those 2 sets. And I actually really like the fact that League One, when they do that golden set, it is just a win is a win. It doesn't matter if you do it in 3. It doesn't matter if you do it in 5. A win is a win. So Austin was still in that position to be able to come back, force set number 5, force, that golden set. And I thought that was absolute cinema because in set number 3 and starting set number 4, Austin made that change from Carly Lloyd in the setter's position to Brie O'Reilly. And I mean, when you're talking about like the best setting lineup, arguably you could put it up there as one of the best setting lineups in the world. Truly, that is one area that this Austin team really competes on a world stage in. It's the setting lineup because you've got Carly Lloyd, former women's national team setter for the USA, coming back after having a kid and still balling out there. And then Brie O'Reilly, who's the current setter for Team Canada. And I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think she's probably a top 10 setter in the world, given what we see in setting in the women's game right now. And you really saw that change happen in their hitting percentage, right? 27 set number 1, which they actually won, by the way. It did Austin. 37 set number 2, 32 in set number 3, but then 38 and 52 in sets 4 and 5, respectively. And that to me was one of the big differences, right? The serve receive as well in set number 5 for Austin, and Brie's ability to set the ball. They went 12 for 23 in set number 5 and ultimately just dominated set number 5 to be able to qualify or, trigger that golden set. And I mean, hey, it kept on going. It kept on going for Austin in set number 5. And I mean, side out was the big difference. Austin has a 1.5 side out rate. Salt Lake with a 2.17 side out rate. So that means for every serve that they got at them, they were siding out 2.17 times, whereas for every serve Austin was getting, they were siding out 1.5 times. And Brie did such a good job at spreading that ball around. 3 points for McCage, 2 for Skinner, 2 for O'Neill, 3 for Eggleston. She had 1 herself with the dump. And Salt Lake couldn't get anyone going but Alexa Gray. And that's ultimately what happened, especially early on in the set. Salt Lake, Austin really jumped out to the lead. It was 8-4. And then it was kind of done after that, all because Alexa Gray was stuck in that back row. And I'm one that, oftentimes we don't know what happens in, practice and in timeouts, especially when I'm watching Italy or Turkey or whatever, because they rarely speak English. And when they do, it is broken English. But watching Salt Lake's times out, I don't know how many times Tama Miyashiro said, just run your routes hard. What routes were they running? At that point in the match, it was such a basic offense, and they weren't changing anything up. Right? They weren't changing anything up. Tori Dixon was out there, like she was 6 for 9, but got 10 sets in the match. She was 0 for 2 in that golden set. Hoffman was 1 for 3. Casanova was 1 for 5 with a negative efficiency. I mean, Alexa was the only one who was able to do anything in that golden set. She was 5 for 6. And like I have no idea what their offensive scheme looked like, because it looked like just set the outside ball to Alexa Gray. They weren't doing they weren't running her in the pipe or in the back row. You've got one of the best setters in the world in Jordan Poulter, and you're not going to be able to run Alexa Gray in the pipe? Like, what's going on? You can't get your middles involved at all? Like, it was terrible. Like, it didn't even seem like Eric Sullivan had to do anything for his team. It was just like, hey, let's execute. Let's execute. And that's what they were able to do down the stretch, because, you know what, past Alexa being fantastic, really Salt Lake didn't have that much to put up against them. And yeah, ultimately, congratulations to Austin winning back-to-back championships. I do have a lot of thoughts about this championship, you know, not run, but how it was presented. You had absolute abysmal attendance for the semifinals in Kentucky. And this is a city who just hosted the NCAA tournament, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed. And then fast forward a few months, and no one is there. No one was there for the semifinals. And it was the same thing. Like, it looked like a preseason Long Beach men's game on Thursday night at the Pyramid. Just no one there. Thank God. Thank God the fans showed up, sold out the place on Saturday night. And, I mean, the creators were out there. Nakoba was there. Frito was there as well, too. Keem Michael was there. I saw Mason Briggs around. Conan was there. And finally, it looked like a big event that was worthwhile. And thank God people were there. Thank God people were there for that match, because like it's frustrating to watch. And to me, it really shows how the model that League One is working with right now, where they have every team looking the exact same, with the exact same branding, with these squiggly logos that no one can really recognize, is really working against them. I really think they are. Right? You have a Nebraska team that no one cares about, whereas the Omaha Supernovas, who are technically a lesser team, are getting like 13,000 attendance, making Lego, like the Super Liga and the Sultanlar Ligi, look like nothing in compared to what the Omaha team is doing in the MLV. No one cares about just this overall, you know, crap that's going on. And like that's like, it's exactly what we saw. No one cared until that final match. No one cared to go to the first match, because there's no brand support. There's no allegiance to your team, because they very rarely play in their own home stadiums. There's these showcases all around the United States, but they never rarely play in their home stadium. What is there to differentiate any team from any team? And I mean, I had some stooges in the Discord being like, oh, name me another league that's doing better. Cool, look at the PWHL. Look at the Professional Women's Hockey League, and we're going to keep it on that same scale with women's sport to women's sport. And on top of that, you can't tell me and sit here and tell me that the PWHL and women's hockey is at a bigger stage and has more players and more participation than women's volleyball. That's absolutely insane. The PWHL regularly plays in NHL arenas and sells them out. They sell out Madison Square Garden's 20,000 people. They sell out Air Canada Centre here, or whatever it's called now, Scotiabank Place, and 20,000 people. They do that in Montreal. They do that in Minnesota. They do it in Ottawa, right? The PWHL is selling out everywhere they go, and they're year number 3. Year number 3. But You know what the PWHL has is they've got recognizable players for recognizable teams. They have like teams and mascots and jerseys and colors that you can go and support. League One does not. It is the classic volleyball story of like, we don't need to tell the volleyball people that this is happening because the volleyball people already know. You know how many fucking times I've heard that over my 15 plus year career, like 15 plus years in volleyball? The volleyball people already know. We need to go get the casual fan. The volleyball people don't know. And more importantly, the volleyball people don't care because you've never catered to them. Like League One, it's so much more about, oh, we're women's sport and we're empowering women, which like I'm all for. But it's not a narrative that builds a league. It's not a narrative that builds a league at all. Let's bear down into the athletes and what they're doing as athletes. That's why people care. That's why people care. And Cooper Smith, you're talking about people in Canada will watch any kind of hockey. That's very true. But I'm still talking about like Boston, Minnesota, New York. These are teams. Seattle. Like Seattle has a great fan base. Is it the Sirens, I think, in the PWHL? But so you can't come sit here and tell me like, oh, name me a league that's doing better after year 2. PWHL. PWHL. Right? Maybe League One needs to go and take some notes. Because, yeah, in a lot of ways, I think MLV almost has a more intriguing product because you have these fan bases that care about it. Hell, like the Indie Ignite of the MLV are getting on like the Pat McAfee show on ESPN and on YouTube because they're based in Indy. Pat McAfee is an Indy guy and he goes to like Indiana Ignite matches. You can only get, you get Jermaine O'Neal for League One matches in the finals, and that's about it. That is about it. So, yeah, I think that there's so much more. I just desire so much more from the League One. Seattle Torrance, sorry. I apologize, Anna. Thank you for correcting me. But yeah, I expect so much more out of League One, especially because like I've been hearing about it for years now, and they've got all these big MBAs and they've got all this venture capitalist money and they've got all this stuff, and they have the base too. How many girls across America are playing in League One clubs, and yet you can't get people to show up? There was this like graph shown on Twitter, and it's just like, look, League One viewership is going up. It's gone up like 8,000 in like 20 months. The average League One match is getting less views than your typical NCAA match. So yeah, like I think that there's a lot to be left to if I think there's still a lot to be left to desired with League One volleyball. The on-court product is decent. It's pretty good. But, at one point in the broadcast, you've got the broadcast score like, we're watching the best women's volleyball in the world right now. And I mean, the Discord erupts because everyone knows that you've got Fenerbahce and Vakifbank and Milano playing the very next morning. Right? Hell, I would say the Brazilian league is better than League One. All of this coming from a league that is fed by the NCAA, where Marina Markova couldn't do anything. So there's clearly a bit of a disconnect there altogether. And once again, like this is coming from a place where I want League One to succeed. But I really hope they change some things up. I really, really do. And I've already talked about how I really think that like all these people being like, oh, we can't have 2 leagues. It's bad for us to have 2 leagues. Let's just hold hands and sing Kumbaya. No, you can't do that. Competition breeds success. I'm honestly going to make just a video just about that and explain why it is better for League One and MLV, the fact that there's 2 leagues and they're competing against each other. And I'm gonna say this here, and I'll re-echo it this in this video. It is going to be very different over the next few years, right? Because at the beginning, League One had access to all the best players, right? It was all the national team players, and it was like basically, hey, if you're on the national team, you're playing League One. You're going to be signing this contract. All of those players got some type of ownership out of the gate. But if you're a star coming out of the NCAA now, what do you get? Are you getting that same level? Right? Are you getting that same level of respect? What happens when you have these big, what happens when you have these big ownership groups who individually own the teams, just like that North American model, right? League One owns all the teams. I know players who joined League One this year. I'm not saying who, but when I talk to them, where are you going to play? They're like, oh, I'm going to play for this team. They told me I could pick, so this is the team I picked. How much of a joke is that? You sign with the league and then you get to go pick where you get to play. Whereas MLV, you have these big people with billions of dollars. And so once you have one of the next big things coming out of the NCAA, what happens if they go up and be like, hey, I'm going to pay you $500,000. I'm going to pay you $1 million. We're going to build everything over on top of you, right? And I think it is that thing. Yeah, and Cooper Smith, you're fully right. Every major sport in North America had competing leagues. The NHL had competing leagues at the beginning of the 1900s. MLB had competing leagues. NFL had competing leagues. NBA had competing leagues. The only major sport that didn't have competing league in North America is the MLS. And I mean, you can really, there's a lot of questions out there to wonder if Major League Soccer is actually one of the major leagues in North America. So that's my rant about League One. It's funny to see the American exceptionalism, in the Discord just going off and about how awesome they are. But yeah, also Cooper Smith, you're 100% right. That's the last thing I'm going to talk about. We need an MLV versus a League One championship. Take the two finalists, put them in a pool all together. Winner goes to the World Club Championships. We need that. We need the cattiness of it all. I would love it. You know how much shade would be thrown? Oh my God. It would be amazing. It would be outstanding. That is something. If that went down, I would go to see it 100%. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to the States right now, but that is something I would go to the US for, because I think it would be absolutely awesome. I think it would be an incredible thing to witness and see. But yeah, League One, the shortest league of all the leagues. They start in January. They're the first ones to end, is done. And once again, I hope that it gets better. I really do. All right. Moving on now to I'm just going to run through a little bit of what's going on in a few of these other leagues as I wrap things up here. Zenit Kazan, Lokomotiv, they went the distance all the way to Game 5. Zenit Kazan took game number 5, 3-1. Dmitry Volkov finally showed up in this one with 21 points. He had 19 for 32. Omar Kurbanov for Lokomotiv was on the other side with 22. And Anna, I know, just to go back on the MLS, I'm like, my original plan in life is that I was going to be a professional soccer player. MLS is football, yes, Luna Soleil. Soccer, European football. Yeah, I was hoping that the MLS was going to be way bigger, but it has just become stagnant. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. But regardless, back to Russia. Yeah, overall, I watched this game, and it was the game that I paid the most attention to, and it was the most dominant performance by Zenit Kazan. I mean, especially in sets 3 and 4. You really just felt that they had the control of this match all the way down the line. But overall, I mean, everyone wants to talk about it. Moni Nikolov, 3 aces, 1 block in this match. He's still, one of the biggest stories in volleyball, and for good reason. But Zenit Kazan will be headed back to the final to take on Dynamo Moscow. Match number 2 goes on tomorrow, whereas actually first match of the bronze medal game went on today. Lokomotiv won that one 3-0 over Zenit St. Petersburg, but St. Petersburg has kind of been struggling down the stretch. Moving on now to Germany, where one of the series is done and the other one is not. Lüneburg got things done against Düren in match number 2 at home. No, on the road. On the road in Duren, a 3-1 win for Lundberg. 22 points for Ethan Champlin in this one. He was 21 for 39 in attack. Axel Enlund, the Swede, 18-year-old Swede, was outstanding as well. 17 for 29. They passed well as a team. Only 12% perfect, but still. Duren just couldn't keep it going. Unfortunately, my guy, Jordan Canham, not quite up there with the scoring as we'd expect him to be. He was 13 for 32. Need him to be a little bit better and not miss 9 aces on 15 attempts and only get 1 ace. So miss 9 serves. But overall, Lundberg headed to the finals, and who they play yet is indeterminate because Berlin won game number 1, and then Friedrichshafen came home and defended home court. Jake Haynes led the match with 25 points. He was 23 for 45 in this match for Berlin, but it was not enough as Jonas van Heusen, the Canadian, the former Fraser Valley Cascade, went out there and scored 20. What a year for Jonas van Heusen. He started the year in the Czech League. Not everyone knows what happens, but Jackson Young gets plucked out of Friedrichshafen to go play for Lublin. Jonas van Heusen comes in to replace Jackson Young. You got the Canadian dominoes falling. He goes out there, scores 20. Kyle Hobus adds 16. And yeah, Friedrichshafen forces a deciding game 3, which will go on Sunday in Berlin's Max Schmeling Hall in Berlin. So winner of that will take on Lundberg in the finals of the Bundesliga. And I mean, at this point, everyone is going off in the chat about the MLS. And Anna, you know what? There's been plenty of games like Atlanta. Atlanta technically does better attendance for the MLS than the Falcons sometimes because they use the same stadium. But it's all about the commercial marketability. And the big issue with MLS is that they signed that terrible deal with Apple TV and they're never on regular TVs at home. And then you've got terrible ownership groups up and down the way. And honestly, I think the what's that other league? There's another league that actually has like promotion and relegation now in the United States, and I don't know why I'm blanking on it. But honestly, I think that's maybe a little bit more compelling sometimes. But yeah, MLS is just really not moved out of that stage where they have young North American players who move on to Europe, and they've got the old European players coming in to make their buck in MLS. And I mean, that's exactly like you've got Messi in Miami, you've got what's his face in Vancouver, the German. Why am I blanking on his name? And you have Sonny for LA as well too. But Cooper Smith, don't even get me started on TFC and their absolute bullshit and Insigne and everything else too. But yeah, we're not talking about soccer here, okay? This is things that we could not do before on the 9x9. Now, finishing up things with France, I talked about how everything was going on in the French league, and we've got first matches of the semifinals have gone down, and I was actually wrong. I'm pretty sure it's actually a 3-game series in the semifinals of the French league. It was in the quarterfinals too. I was just wrong about that. But Poitiers won match number 1. It was 3-0 in favor of Poitiers, led by Daniel Lewis, the Canadian head coach. Kevin Cobreen, the former UCLA Bruin, with 12 in this one. Thomas Puyol with 12 as well, and Simon Magnin with 10. This Poitiers team is led by Chaboissin, the backup French setter who was not named to the French A team this year. Thomas Muller, thank you very much. I don't know why I keep on blanking on names today. And Poitiers wins this game 3-0 against Paris. Matisse Heno, who I talked about in that video, had 14. He was 12 for 36, probably one of his worst matches for Paris so far this season. Vuk Klupenach with 13 as well, and François Huetz with 10. Where is their big guy? I thought they had another guy who was doing really well for them. The German or the Russian guy. Looks like the Russian guy was not on the roster for them. That's probably why they ended up losing this match 3-0. I wonder if they can get another medical joker. And then on the other side, we have Montpellier taking down Set 3-1. And I mean Montpellier. Look at these numbers. 25 for Simon Ursch, 14 for Ezequiel Palacios, and 14 for Thomas Pascual as well. Whereas on the other side, Set 18 for Cornelius Vender, and 16 for Benedict Sablatinig, and 14 for... I honestly can't read that name. Honestly, I don't know why they're giving Nicolas Zerba 17 attempts in the middle. He was 6 for 17. Looks like Angel De Haro, Trinidad, forcing him a little bit too much, but Montpellier is a bit of a wagon, right? That offense run by Matias Sanchez is so good. So, yeah, that is the wrap up of what is happening in the French League. Actually, we can just pull this up real quick. CEV Cup 2026 game 1 of the finals was all Piacenza. Sorry, I did meant to bring it up. Oh, damn. I've just been talking and not showing you guys any of the stats, any of this time. But yeah, CEV Cup was a little disheartening if you're a Lüneburg guy, which, you know, I am. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I was really hoping for something more in this one. As you know what, we're gonna bring this over just a little bit so you can see. And I mean, if you look up here, who was leading? 8-4 in the first for Lüneburg, 16-14 in the first for Lüneburg, 21-19 in the first for Lüneburg, 26-24 Piacenza at the end. 8-6 in the first for Lüneburg, 16-10 in the first for Lüneburg. And it went from like honestly 19-11 to 21-20 in favor of Lüneburg. Piacenza ends up taking it 25-22, and then they were just heartbroken from there. 25-16 was the end, and oh, that was difficult to watch. It was difficult to watch for sure, all off the back of Galassi, especially that second comeback. Gianluca Galassi just putting the ball in, keeping the pressure on. Bovalenta looked pretty good, 15 for 25 in that match for 17 points altogether. Mondaracci wasn't 100%. They still played him, though. He was 7 for 18 with 10 points. Gutierrez, 10 for 22 with a 45% efficiency for 11 points. And no one in double digits. Sorry, only one player, Daniel Gruvaus, with 11 points. He was 8 for 15 with a block and 2 aces for Lüneburg. But Lüneburg, man, they looked so good for the first halves of sets 1 and 2, and then just started holding that stick real too tight, and it was over for them. So looking forward to what else is happening over the course of this week. Nothing really happening tomorrow except for the FA League playoffs. You got Zawiercie against Galatasaray, game 1 of their finals. I guess I could have talked about that too. Also, I guess you have game 1 of the Russian League finals as well, with Zenit Kazan and Dinamo Moscow. Both those games going on at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's 6 p.m. East or Europe time. I have no idea what time this is in their respective places. I'm just going to care about myself though. Moving on to Wednesday, you've got game number 2 of the CEV Cup Finals between Piacenza and Lüneburg. We'll see how Lüneburg can do. I mean, I thought if they were gonna have any chance to be relevant in the series, they needed to win game 1 at home, and they did not. They laid that egg. But more importantly, you do also have game number 4 between Verovali, Milano, and Conegliano. So that will be a must-watch. Probably will do a watch-along for that one as well. Moving on to Thursday, you're going to have game 2 of the Russian finals between Zenit Kazan and Dinamo Moscow. That's pretty much it, unless you want to watch Orlando versus Indy, which honestly I may do. I might start tuning into the MLV now as we're gearing up to go towards the playoffs. Friday, you have game number 2 of Galatasaray against Zawiercie. You also have both of the French League semifinals both going on at the same time. So if you want to check out the LNV stream, you can pay and watch that. Saturday, going to be a big day with Zawiercie taking on Lublin in game 1 of the PluLiga Finals. Also, Warszawa against Sofia a little bit later in that day for the bronze medal. And then Sunday, I think that is when, if we have a game 5 for the Liga Volley Femminile, that's what we have. But then you'll also have Berlin against Friedrichshafen in the Bundesliga semifinals. All right. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you haven't yet, please join the Volleyball Source Discord. If you've enjoyed this, please give this a like. Comment what series you're most excited to watch in the comments. Just, it helps with the algorithm quite a bit. And hope you guys have a great week, and stay tuned for more content coming out over the course of this week. Think about, and have a great week, and I will see you a little bit later.